Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. I'm Nicholas Richardson and this is the news. Civic Platform and the left-wing alliance parties are calling on President Duda to revoke his decision to appoint Antoni Macierewicz as the senior speaker of the Sejm. According to politicians from both groups, Macierewicz's candidature threatens the gravity of the Sejm. Politicians from the ruling party respond by saying that given the current composition of the House, it is difficult to find an MP who compares to Antoni Macierewicz in his contribution to the fight for Polish independence. From the Sejm, Alexandra Zajicka has more.
There is no historical merit Antoni Macierewicz achieved which justifies his appointment as the senior speaker. This is what some politicians from the Civic Platform opposition party argue. He is aggressive, creates tension, has divided society over the Smolensk presidential plane crash, and he should not be allowed this prominent position in the Polish parliament. Those are the arguments of the opposition when calling on President Duda to revoke his decision. Similarly, the left-wing alliance is fighting against the nomination of Antoni Macierewicz.
This is a wrong decision. There are no achievements by Antoni Macierewicz, and many of them are controversial, to justify that decision. Mr. President, do you want the authority and dignity of Parliament to be ridiculed? Mr. President, we will call on you to change that decision. There is still time. We have other dignified MPs who should be considered for the position of senior speaker.
There were many candidates very qualified, and this choice made by the president seems very controversial. Antoni Macierewicz is very controversial because of the way he makes his political maneuvers. Frequently, he makes assumptions, and they often turn out to be wrong. The president himself has criticized Mr. Macierewicz in the past, likening his methods to those of the communist secret police. We are not suggesting who should be selected, but our appeal to the president is to reconcile the reasons and maybe change his decision.
Mr. Minister Antoni Macierewicz has a great track record of involvement in the fight for an independent Poland. No one among the MPs of the present Sejm can match that. The fact that the President selected him from the pool of the 10 oldest MPs is his prerogative, and I am surprised by the hustling by the Civic Platform Party in particular, because it is them who has one MP with a shameful history of being part of the anti-Semitic excesses in 1968.
It remains to be seen whether the opponents will boycott the opening speech by Antoni Macierewicz during the first session of the new parliament. The new Sejm will gather for the first time on November 12, 2019.
The head of the Parliamentary Information Centre, Andrzej Grzegżulka, has announced that the procedure to appoint new judges to the Constitutional Tribunal will be carried out during the new government's term of office. He stressed that the parliamentary clubs had been informed that although the procedure began in the 8th term, the final choice won't take place before the new term. The three candidates of the governing Law and Justice Party are Professor Krystyna Pawłowicz, Professor Elżbieta Hojny-Duch and Stanisław Piotrowicz.
In our reality, and I mean the reality of our parliament and our country, we're ending the 8th term of office. We will start the 9th term of office on 12th November, and then the new candidates will be presented by the parliamentary clubs. I would like you to remember that some part of the parliamentary clubs didn't exist in the 8th term of office, so new candidates can appear in the 9th term of office. There were some questions whether the candidatures can be the same as they were before. The answer is, they can. But they don't have to be.
Warsaw City Hall is to take on the task of resolving the Czajka sewage treatment plant crisis. However, for the opposition Civic Platform Party councillors, whose party won the municipal election in Warsaw, the matter must truly be a stinker, since the case has been moved to item 70 on the agenda of the council's proceedings.
The special pipes installed by the military on a floating bridge are to be disabled on November 15th, but for the sewage to be sent back to the collectors at the treatment plant, pressure and tightness tests needs to be conducted.
It was said that on 15th November the sewage would need to go back to the treatment plant, given the approaching winter. The cold temperatures could damage the floating bridge. Today, it's 7th of November, and this information was forced by us to be put in the order of the proceedings. It ended up as item 70. Just a few moments ago, I appealed to the councillors of the Civic Coalition to move this matter to come after the budget points, which should be discussed rather quickly, so that the case of the treatment plant could be presented at the beginning of the proceedings. I did it as a gesture of goodwill, since they should be able to show off with this. What will be their decision? I have some doubts now, because they don't want to talk about it before the media. Something must be up.
Czyli coś jest na rzeczy.
The failure of the collectors, which sent sewage from the left bank of the river Vistula to the Chajka sewage treatment plant on the right bank of the river, occurred at the end of August. The city's sewage and water office then made a decision to dump the sewage into the river. In response, Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki ordered the construction of an alternative transfer system. On September 9th, the sewage started to be transferred to Chajka through an auxiliary pipeline built by the military.
Over 50,000 cinemagoers in Poland have already watched the American anti-abortion movie Unplanned. Left-wing activists have been trying to disturb screenings of the film.
This is Abby. She's our newest
The movie Unplanned appeared on Polish movie screens on November 1st and was watched by over 50,000 viewers during its first days of screening. The movie won the first place in terms of the number of viewers. It tells the story of Abby Johnson, who worked as a director of one of the Planned Parenthood institutions that performs abortions. What's more, she was responsible for conducting more than 22,000 abortions.
Stanowi dobre zagrożenie.
The movie causes a fear of abortion, so maybe some environments will start to look at it differently.
Okopaliśmy w Polsce.
Unplanned met with harsh criticism in left-wing environments. Yesterday, Professor Bogdan Hazan was the guest at the screening of the film in the Charlie Cinema in the city of Łódź. Activists from the Girls to the Girls group, which fights for women's rights, together with representatives of the Łódź Left Party, organized a protest in front of the cinema. Protesters started to insult Professor Hazan, who admitted that he underwent a change in his life when it comes to the right to life of unborn children.
Lewica, która chciałaby...
It is very interesting that these arguments are coming from people who fight for teenagers' rights to take morning after pills and to have the right to abortion.
Bez zgody rodziców.
The film premiered on February 21st in the United States. At its opening weekend, it was the fourth most watched movie in the United States. Since the movie came out, 9 US states have introduced legislation to protect unborn children.
That's the news. Thank you for watching. Stay with us for the weather, business and more programmes. But from me, it's have a good night and a better tomorrow.
Welcome to Poland Daily Weather. Let's look at the forecast for tonight. Temperature will range from 4 degrees in Olsztyn and Łódź to 7 in Kraków. In the whole country, sky will be light overcast without rainfalls. Pressure will little increase. Wind will be weak. Let's see the forecast for tomorrow. Temperature will fall to 8 degrees in Olsztyn. The highest temperature will be 13 degrees in Kraków and Wrocław. Little rainfalls will appear on the southeast. More sunlights are expected in central Poland and on the southwest. Pressure will be still low. Let's check the weather for the next days. Next days will bring us lower temperature and more rainfalls. On Sunday, still warm on the southeast, 17 degrees. In the rest of the country, temperature will hover between 9 to 14. On Sunday, rain will appear across Poland. Temperature will fall to 8 degrees on the west. On Monday, the temperature will remain low. Thank you for watching and goodbye.
Poland Daily Business Edition. Tonight we focus on the United States and try to find out whether the impeachment of President Donald J. Trump is real or is just a tool to diminish his standing among his voters. Artur Wróblewski of Lazarski University. Sir, welcome to the show. And what do you think about this impeachment process that just started in the States?
I think it's a mistake to formalize now and launch this official impeachment procedure, because what if this impeachment procedure does not work and President Donald Trump will not be removed from the office, because this is the goal of impeachment, the removal of the official public person from the office. Then we have, to some extent, problem for Democrats. Let's remember that there is no enough senators in the upper house of Congress, of American Congress, in the Senate, to push through the articles of impeachment. This is the trial chamber where the decision will be made, and we need like a majority of 2/3. It means 67 senators must cast the vote against President Donald Trump to remove him from office. And let's remember that this article of impeachment, which probably will be formulated, this main offense which allegedly had been committed by President Trump, is the abuse of office, abuse of power, because of his involvement in quid pro quo situation
With
in Ukraine.
Yes.
Exactly. But actually, this is not a very strong argument, and we can argue, for example, in response to this offense, to this charge. What about Hunter Biden, the son of Joe Biden?
And company called Burisma.
Burisma. What he was doing there? Why they were using the influence in Washington related to Hunter Biden being the son of Vice President of the United States, Joe Biden, to get meetings in the State Department. We know a lot about this situation now, and the Blue Star Consulting Company in Washington, which was using the name of Hunter Biden to get some influence in the State Department. So I think this situation, this impeachment, is not a good idea for Nancy Pelosi and for Democrats. It will not help them to win the presidency next year. And in addition, I don't see strong candidates on the part of Democratic Party.
The ratings of Joe Biden have fallen significantly after that revelation that his son got money from the Ukrainian company, to which the United States' taxpayer gave money through the government and all that dirty tricks. And the theory is that touching this issue was like kicking the hornet's nest, and that's why Democrats went overdrive.
Pandora's box, because we see the theory, conspiracies theories of President Trump to some extent proven that there is elite in Washington where people support, families support each other, and they rule and they profit from this.
Or the swamp that has not been drained.
Exactly. He's draining the swamp. That's why he came to Washington, and now he actually revealed these connections between some kind of company in Ukraine, corrupted Ukraine, and Washington D.C. establishment. So I don't think it's a good idea. And in addition, let's look on the Democratic candidates for presidency. We have Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders or other people who are too radical to be elected in the United States because they want to abolish, for example, the right to carry a gun. They want to introduce tuition-free universities, or they want to abolish capital punishment, or they want to abolish electoral college. You do not win elections in the United States with such program.
Yes, the capital punishment. They also say about fighting capitalism, and I wonder if they know the difference.
Exactly. So I think the proposal for the Americans, especially for those evangelicals or those outside of the West or East Coast where liberal progressives are living, are too radical, too left-leaning in order to win the center votes which are needed to win the election.
The news in Poland is that Donald T. will not run for president in 2020. We mean Donald Tusk, the current European Council president, but Donald Trump will for sure run next year, and he is turning to the minorities that decide in the key states. And a recent decision about allowing Poles to travel to the United States will definitely have a positive resonation among those people. And the question is that internal policy of the United States made abroad in Poland?
To some extent, but there is often this overlapping interests playing the role. External, internal factors must be taken into account, especially when you need to win key states, swing states. And let's remember that in 2016, President or candidate Donald Trump won 3 key states like Wisconsin, Illinois, Pennsylvania by 78,000 votes over Hillary Clinton. And those electoral mandates gave him the presidency. And we know that in those states, for example, we have between 2 and 8% of Americans with Polish roots. So he must fight for every vote to win next election. And this decision certainly might help him. Definitely it will not hurt him.
So we'll see that very soon. Artur Wróblewski, Lazarski University was our guest, sir. Thank you very much for coming to this show.
Thank you very much.
And that was it for Poland Daily Business.
Welcome back to Poland Daily Weather. Let's have a look at the forecast for tomorrow. Temperature will fall to 8 degrees in Olsztyn. The highest temperature will be 13 degrees in Kraków and Wrocław. Little rainfalls will appear on the southeast. More sunlights are expected in central Poland and on the southwest. Pressure will be still low. Let's check the weather for the next days. Next days will bring us lower temperature and more rainfalls. On Saturday, still warm on the southeast, 17 degrees. In the rest of the country, temperature will hover between 9 to 14. On Sunday, rain will appear across Poland. Temperature will fall to 8 degrees on the west. On Monday, the temperature will remain low. Thank you for watching and goodbye.
Good day, everyone. My name is Maria Kądzielska, and this is Poland Daily Culture. They make movies about incredible people working in the most difficult places in the world. About courage, faith, discipline, and above all, about love. Today with me in the studio is Maciej Syka from High Hope Films. Thank you for being with us.
Hello guys, how you doing? And thank you for the invitation.
But before we start the interview, as usual, let's see some shots of their work. Maciej, you work actually with your brothers in a company, High Hope Films, or you all create in this company, because it seems like a family business as well. And recently your own production is about Salesian fathers working in Africa and helping children there, but spreading the gospel, but not only, but also working at schools, at hospitals. And as I understand, you've been there, you've seen their work, and you should how they, you just recorded how they work, how they help people, and how they spread the gospels, and how it all looks like. Tell us about it.
We met them with my brother Tadeusz a few years ago, and here I want to say special hello to Father Jacek Zdzieborski, to Father Przemysław Kawecki, and to Father Maciej Makuła. Yeah, firstly, these guys, they don't pull wool over your eyes. They do a real thing. These guys, they do a real thing. They go there, they go to poor countries, they teach there, they teach gospel there, and they work very hard there. A few years ago, we were invited to 2 projects. One of them was what is your life mission? What is your mission in your life? That was the title of the video campaign. And we received some shots, we received some video stuff, some footage from the Salesians, and they asked us to edit the video. I have to admit that what we saw on their videos was very, very touching and was very deep. Later on, they asked us to produce the film How Can We Help in Bangladesh? And we shooted the short video spot. You can Google the spot on Salezjański Ośrodek Misyjny, Salezjański Ośrodek Misyjny, and there you can find many different actions that Salesians do. So it's always a big honor and pleasure to work with the Salesians, to do some editing for them or to shoot some stuff for them. We always share the stories with the Salesians on our Facebook profile, which is The Human Experience Poland. This is the profile where we share life stories, where we show deeper stories, where we want to show the meaning of life or to ask the question, what's the meaning of life? Salesians, full respect for these guys. They know how to work, they know how to help, and they know how to form volunteers. Because Salezjański Ośrodek Misyjny, they prepare volunteers to work in Africa or in poor countries. And I have to recommend, I do strongly recommend their own film about the miracle that happened. You can Google this film on their website, Salezjański Ośrodek Misyjny, and it's
What
very
kind of
good.
miracle then?
It's their film tells a story about one girl. It shows one girl who survived very strong disease, and she was saved by the miracle. So many people prayed, and the miracle happened. So this is worth recommending.
Salesian fathers are also Polish fathers.
Yeah, they are Polish fathers. They are Polish friars. They work here in Ursynów in Warsaw and at Korowodu Street, as I remember.
And they also make missions to Chad or to Bolivia, as you said, and help people there.
Yeah, they help people in many countries all over the world. And as priests, as lay people, because as I said, Father Jacek Zdziborski, they prepare lay people for going just to start their missions in Africa. Just you have to go, you have to take a 1-year preparation, and then you can go as a volunteer. So I deeply recommend to visit the website Salezjański Ośrodek Misyjny in Warsaw, Warszawa.
So if anyone would like to become a volunteer for helping people.
Yeah, why not? Why not? You may be 25 or 27 or even 30 years old, and you can gain a new experience. You can start a journey of a lifetime. It may be a life-changing experience. So visit their website, and you will never be disappointed. I trust you. I believe you.
And tell me, please, Salesians Father, they help, for example, that's what you observed, their work. What was the biggest problem? What was the biggest challenge for them?
Father Jacek Zdziborski and Salezjański Ośrodek Misyjny, they support the priests, the Salesians' work all over these countries, in Africa, in South America, in Asia, many problems. When I visit Father Jacek for coffee, we talk about the problems they have. There is lack of food, lack of water, lack of schools. So as Salesians, as Salezjański Ośrodek Misyjny, they help to solve these problems. They help to build schools there. They help to find food, to get food for these missions, and to get drinking water. So this is how it works.
Absolutely, sounds amazing. If everyone is interested in the works of Salesian Fathers, visit their website or watch a movie of High Hope Films. and thank you for being today with us.
After the failure of the November 1830 uprising, thousands of Poles left the country to live a life in exile. They represented the cultural elite, the artistic elite, the literary elite. What was the effect on Poland, on ideas, on culture, of having the major cultural and political influences be forged outside the lands of Poland? In this episode of Poland Daily History, we look at these issues in greater detail and assess the effect of this great emigration.
Welcome to Poland Daily History with me, Nicholas Richardson. Today I'm in the studio with Dominik Szczęsny-Kostonecki, a historian and a PhD scholar, and we're going to discuss the Great Emigration. Dominik, thank you for joining us. In terms of sort of daily life within the Hotel Lambert and the people involved, what did that look like?
I mean, the so-called everyday life was rather harsh. These people, many of them didn't know the language. Of course, I'm not talking about Prince Adam, who spoke French, equally well as Polish or as Russian and other languages. But many people didn't know the language. So first they had to cross the linguistic barrier. Then, of course, they were given some sort of dole by the French government, but it wasn't much.
No.
And we also have to remember that the time span of that subsidy was limited. So they had to find a job. Many of them were suffering from depression because they were not quite away from their country, from their families. So many of them got irritated. Many of them got into duels. I mean, duels were an eminent element of the everyday life of the Polish society there mostly in Paris. But of course there were also because what I say is rather bleak. Of course, there was also gloom. People, gathering in the Polish church, the so-called Polish church. I mean, we call it the Polish church because since the 40s, one of the Parisian churches, that is Notre Dame de l'Assomption, so Our Lady of the Assumption, in the very heart of, next to La Madeleine.
Okay, yeah.
Church. Which is there, was administrated by Polish clergymen, and that's why it's called the Polish Church, and it's still in Polish hands today. So it's one of the remnants, let's say, of the Great Emigration from that time. So people going to church, people celebrating anniversaries of the November Revolution, and so on and so on. But it was tough. Generally, it was tough.
And why was Paris chosen as a sort of... How did Paris become the centre? I mean, it's quite a long way from Warsaw to Paris. And
first of all, the French government was most willing to accept these people and to give them something, at least. I mean, Great Britain was on the second place. I mean, but it's also funny because when it, sometimes those political movements, those political parties were regarded, some of them were regarded as, let's say, too radical or too dangerous. And then when that would happen, these people would move to Great Britain, to, liberal Great Britain, that would accept any kind of, political views. That's what happened to the radical left.
Because there was at one point, there was the Polish National Committee, which was relatively short-lived, I think, in 1831, 1832, before the French government decided it was probably a bit too radical even for the French. I think I remember reading
Which was actually a mistake because it was rather moderate. I mean, but there was more fear than than needed. In fact, the Polish National Committee that you've mentioned is the first attempt to unite the emigration as a whole. It was led by we've mentioned Adam Jerzy Czartoryski, so one of the leaders of the popular opinion on the right. And on the left, we've got Joachim Lelewel. And Joachim Lelewel, who was, that's what I call an eminent historian, sometimes called the father of the Polish historiography, also a politician, also a member of the national government in the November Rising, was the leader of the left. And that was his initiative to create the Polish National Committee to unite the emigration. But it soon turned out that what is for everybody is for nobody. That is to say, when you want to have an organization that unites everybody, I mean, it's impossible because some are more to the left, some are more to the right. I mean, we often think of ourselves, we Poles, we often think of ourselves that when you've got two Poles, you've got three opinions.
Indeed, yes. Sometimes more than three, I think, in my experience.
So there you go. So that's why it was short-lived, and it existed only, as you mentioned,
about a year or so. Yes.
And that's why. First, it was the left the left that left the Polish National Committee, the secessionists from the Polish National Committee created Towarzystwo Demokratyczne Polskie that we've mentioned, TDP. So the first Polish political party in the modern sense, and then you've got others. There was a great number. There was a few. 40, 50, maybe even, parties, committees throughout that period. That period from roughly, of course, November and January uprising, so roughly 30 years.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Poland Daily Travel. In this series of episodes, we will be showing you the city of Lublin. That's right, Lublin, the great city east of the Wisła River in Poland, otherwise known as the Vistula River, that is. Lublin's an amazing city. It's really quite a fantastic place to stop off. Absolutely dripping with history and fun. It is the 9th largest city in Poland. It is the capital and center of the Lubelska province. And it's about 170 kilometers southeast of the capital, Warsaw. It was the Polish-Lithuanian Union in 1385 that really put Lublin on the map, on a strategic route between Kraków and Vilnius. The Lublin Parliament of 1569 created an actual union between Lithuania and Poland. It was the Lublin Parliament of 1569 that actually united Lithuania and Poland politically. So we're going to be getting an all-round view of the city. We'll also go to the Royal Castle in Lublin, and we'll check out the Holy Trinity Chapel with some of the most, breathtaking frescoes you're going to see anywhere in Europe. We'll stroll through the old town and comment on its captivating Jewish history. Catholics and Jews lived side by side in Lublin in Lubelski province for hundreds of years. It was a peaceful and fruitful cooperation. And lastly, but not least, we'll head to a onion bread bakery, and we're going to go through the ritual of how you make onion bread, a staple product along with beer in this region. All in all, you're going to find this an extremely rewarding trip to Lublin, and we hope that you'll see it in a light that you've never seen it before. Poland Daily Travel. Why do we do it? We do it for you. We promise you nothing but the best. Lublin, past, present, and future with Poland Daily Travel.
We're in the Castle Keep, and on our way to the church, Bogdan and I saw this painting, and we said, "Hi, we have to at least mention it because it's a realization of the
power of Poland and Lithuania union."
That's correct. 450 years.
Anniversary this
450
year.
Year anniversary this year.
This year.
Of the starting.
Of Polish-Lithuanian Union.
Of the beginning.
Of the beginning.
Of it. So okay. And this is a realization by Jan Matejko, the great historical painter.
Historical painter, yes.
And you were telling me off camera, you said this is in Warsaw. No, sorry, Vilnius.
It is now in this year.
Yeah.
It is. The picture is in Vilnius.
To celebrate this.
To celebrate.
But where does it live usually? In Warsaw or?
No, in Lublin.
It lives in Lublin.
The owner is National Museum in Warsaw. But we can see this picture, it stays in Lublin.
Okay, and there you are. You can see the seriousness with which this was taken. An awesome union at the time.
Matejko's imagination. But what we have in Lublin is this crucifix.
Right.
Which is real.
Actual real thing.
Yes, in Dominican's church.
Yeah. In the Dominican church, which we saw from the upstairs,
it's from the upstairs.
Over here. Yeah, we're going to walk by there later. Okay.
Sure.
Okay, stay with us. We're going inside and look at some icons, and then we're gonna go on to the old town and walk through. Stay with us. Hello, everybody. Here we are in the Holy Trinity Chapel, and holy cow, it's amazing. I've never seen anything quite like this. The entire thing is covered in religious frescoes. And you remember we just came from outside, of course, and we were looking at the painting or the representation of the painting by Matejko of the signing of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, the agreement to create that kingdom. It took place in here. In this chapel was where they signed that. So that's amazing. And if we just look around us, we are surrounded by some of the most sublime religious symbolism and religious iconography that I've ever seen. It's quite unique. This ought to be a UNESCO site, is it?
No, European heritage.
European heritage, yeah. Okay. This is amazing. Look at this graffiti. So we have these amazing frescoes, and then we have the human touch. Literally. Because, I mean, look at some of the dates. I mean, I think I saw, these are real dates, right?
Yes.
It's not a hoax, you know?
1603.
1603, which was right around
1633.
Just around the founding of Jamestown, which is where I live. So this is, history's way before that, which is amazing.
And the whole names and the second names, Andrzej Koniński.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to look at some graffiti. Stay tuned for the next installment. We're going to look at all the frescoes and some of the graffiti in detail. And if I have my marker on me, somebody distract the lady over there, and I will just add my Banksy touch to the graffiti on the wall here. What do you think about that? Shh, don't tell anybody. Quiet. Do it.
Holy Trinity Chapel at Lublin Castle ranks among the world's most precious heritage sites, the monument where the two great cultural traditions meet, the Latinate West and the Byzantine East. The Gothic chapel, referred to in the written sources as the Capella Regia, when raised in the 14th century, was adjacent to the eastern wall of the former castle. It's completed at the same time. In 1418, the chapel interior was decorated with Byzantine frescoes, executed by painters imported from the East. which are preserved in their original place until this day. The donor of the paintings was the great Duke of Lithuania and King of Poland, Władysław Jagiello. He was known for his bonds to tradition and the art of Eastern Christianity. Lublin Castle and the chapel witnessed numerous important historical events. The election of Władysław Jagiello as King of Poland took place there in 1386, and in 1569 the act of signing the union between Lithuania and Poland. The Swedish and Cossack wars in the 17th century brought ruin to the royal residence, and the chapel was one of the few buildings left of the former impressive complex. In the early 19th century, a prison building was erected on the site of the ruined castle. Simultaneously, the wall paintings of the chapel were covered over with plaster, and for a long time hidden from view. In 1899, after a chance discovery of the frescoes, their conservation was undertaken and completed finally nearly a century later in 1997. In accordance with the consistent scheme, the most important place in the chapel is the central part of the chancel vaulting. It depicts Christ surrounded by symbols of the evangelists. The dove, the symbol of the Holy Ghost, is placed above this image and complements the theme of the Holy Trinity, repeated on the chancel arch wall in the scene of Abraham's hospitality. At the feet of Christ in majesty, on the boss of the vaulting ribs, there is the coat of arms of Jagiello, a double cross. The Holy Trinity is accompanied by a host of angels, which take up most of the vault space in the chancel and the nave. The upper zone of the chapel walls display the crucial events from the lives of Christ and the Virgin Mary. The Annunciation starts the evangelical cycle. It continues on the south wall with the visitation of Saint Elizabeth and the Nativity. On the north wall, the program continues with the presentation of the Holy Mother. We pass to the Passion sequence depicted in the chancel, the Annunciation of the Passion, the washing of the feet, the Last Supper, the prayer in the garden, the betrayal of Judas, the trial of Jesus before Pilate, the mocking, the flagellation, the crucifixion, and the descent from the cross. Despite the differences in the style of execution, the paintings make up one whole, respecting the canon of Byzantine iconography and in perfect harmony with Gothic architecture, which is displayed in the church. The frescoes please the eye with their bright and vivid colors and rich ornamentation. They move with the elated beauty of the composition and remind the visitors of the king who endowed Lublin with this priceless monument. The Chapel of the Holy Trinity has been included in the European Heritage List, and rightly so.